Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about changes of matter. So first we have physical change, and there are two different types of changes of matter, and the first one is physical change. And physical change is a change in size, shape, or form, meaning states of matter, to solid to liquid, liquid to gas, vice versa, without changing its identity. That's very key. So when we're doing something to change a substance, at the end of that change, that substance does not change. So here are some examples. Chopping wood. We can take a log, chop it into smaller pieces, it's still wood at the end of that change. Breaking glass. You might have dropped a glass cup on the ground in your kitchen. It's kind of not a cup, but it's still glass. It started off with glass and it ends in glass. It's just changing its shape and size. Cutting paper, same thing. You got a whole copy paper, you cut it up into pieces, it's still paper. And with the idea of states of matter, of form, melting ice. Ice can melt into liquid water, but it's still H2O. So if we go from a solid to a liquid, liquid to gas, and vice versa, that substance, it's still the same compound. It really doesn't change the identity, even though you may think, well, ice and water are two different things. They're the same thing. It's just a frozen version of water. And the other type is chemical change. So the other type of change of matter is chemical change. And chemical change is a change from one substance to another. So now we have a change, and at the end of that change, it's going to be something completely different. So examples would be gases produced, bubbles. So Alka-Seltzer tablets going into water. At the end of it, there's no more Alka-Seltzer tablet, and it's not water anymore. It's something completely different. Precipitation formed, a solid. So if we put two things together, a solid's going to be produced. It's no longer going to be the same thing like it was before. Temperature change, hot or cold. Usually this happens with fire or an explosion of some type. That is some sort of chemical change because it's always different at the end. And color change. If we put two things together and the color changes, that is another sign of a chemical change. So with that idea, let's talk about some tips and tricks. So here are the steps you should take to determine if a scenario is a physical property, chemical property, physical change, or chemical change, because on your assessment for this chapter, I'm going to be mixing in a whole bunch of things, and you're going to have to be able to identify if it's a physical property, physical change, or chemical change. So step one would determine if the scenario is an observation or process. So looking at this problem, is it going to be an observation or is it going to be a process? Now, if it is an observation, if you identified it as an observation, it's going to be a property. And if it's a process, so some kind of change going on, it is a change. And then your second one is determine if the identity changes or not. So does it stay the same at the end or does it change at the end? And if there's no change, it's going to be physical. And if there is a change, it's going to be chemical. And that's it.